How you doing? The first one today, user 9050344584112. Cool name. K28, welcome. Affiliate athlete. How are you, man? To anybody who doesn't know, this channel mostly revolves around the simulation hypothesis idea. My name is Danny, and I claim to have found proof that we live in a simulation, and I'm having these conversations on a daily basis. Mountain Money, how you doing? ONR, David. Oh, hey, Gaetan. How you doing? What is this username? How are you? Benji, Casey, Breadhead, Breadhead, Joey Keen. How are you, everyone? Ray, Silver Lining, Tuki, Ali, TikTok Tech, Big Mike. All right, so we have some people flowing in. Again, to anybody who's new, too late. I get it. This channel is mostly around the simulation hypothesis idea. My name is Danny, and I claim to have proof that we live in a simulation. And for the last 2 years, I've been spending some time talking to some researchers, interesting people, scientists in the field and field adjacent. And I'm doing this daily chat to gather a little bit more insight into what matters to people around the space and in general. And so far, we've been having a lot of great conversations. How are you, Christy Bella? Gitan, by the way, so great to see you here. Adam, Dan, and Dalton. Every day I'm trying to come up with some kind of a topic of conversation that we usually trail off of. And I think yesterday we spoke mostly around the big goals of humanity, what it would mean for us to actually pass this, whatever stage this is we're in, and manage to go to the next level. By the way, anybody who's joining and all the newcomers and all the regulars, if we can just give it a few likes just so we can have more people going, so we can have a nice conversation. Malik, Son of Fresh, Beloved, Lace Lid. How are you, everyone? Thank you for the likes. Again, to all the newcomers, this channel is mostly around the simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny, and I'm claiming to have found proof that we live in a simulation. We're meeting here daily, discussing some of the details, and also some big topics like philosophy, cosmology. I see Alien join, so definitely aliens. Justin, Emily Butler. How are you, everyone? Okay, so I think because yesterday we spoke greatly, Katie, about the potential of the human civilization in space and beyond. Today, I want to bring it home a little bit and talk about matters that are here in terrestrial and what matters to us here. First of all, I would like to know how many people here are versed in the psychedelic space in general. My big thing is, how are you doing, Vicor? Is that I'm trying to divorce, the whole idea that psychedelics belong in some kind of other space of confusion, of extravagant claims, and trying to couple it with something that is a little bit more scientific. Because I think ultimately it's just a matter of understanding the world. I'm trying to divorce my husband too. That's funny. Well, we can discuss that if you want. Is this your down to earth topic? By the way, what does that mean that you're trying to divorce your husband? Is it like just the process that you mean by trying? Isn't it just basically submitting divorce papers? Slim Jim. Also, sorry to hear that. It can't be pleasant. Dylan Hooper. So yeah, I'm going to reiterate it one more time and then we'll start the conversation. This channel mostly revolves around the simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny and I claim to have found proof that we live in a simulation. Recently, I came back to have more of an appearance on TikTok. So I'm coming here daily and we're having these discussions in which we're exploring both the simulation hypothesis, my claims, and what I think is concurrent and what is stable in the space. And I'm talking about some things, certain conversations I've had with scientists, philosophers, and also I'm very interested in what people have to say. And as part of these conversations, we're touching on all kinds of topics. We're touching on big cosmology topics, philosophy, theory of mind. So it definitely gets interesting here. Do you believe in back rooms? Let's hear it, Danny. I'm all ears. Okay, well, to all the newcomers, the proposition is actually very simple. If you project a diffracted laser on the surface, it preferably 650 nanometers, so red, and you ingest a particular molecule that I cannot name in a live chat, you will see code running in surfaces. It's pretty straightforward, but it's kind of staggering. We have, at least I know, one member of my more inner circle that tried the experiment. At this point, we have almost 1,000 or a little bit over 1,000 replications worldwide. There's entire communities that formed around the project. And to some degree, it formed some kind of a discussion or a debate, which now some scientists in the field starting to comment on. A couple of them actually saw the code. You just gained consciousness, Justin? That's incredible. Question mark joined. So what do you think, Vicor? Or VSOR? How do you pronounce that? VCore. Actually, the name of the project is Core, Code of Reality. So interesting, VCore or VSOR. Or you want to tell me how to pronounce it? So that's essentially the experiment. The implications are obviously very deep, and we are now in the process of discussing it and building a double-blind experiment. Happy birth, Justin. I'm a sign. That is crazy. You're a sign. Happy birthday, Justin. Proof right here. There we go. Why are you a sign, Vicor? I'm happy to see you here, Gaetan. Okay. Hey, MEF. We have people joining on YouTube. Your question about psychedelic space. I live where ayahuasca and San Pedro are traditional indigenous medicines, and I've experienced them in traditional settings. Thank you for sharing. Also, some non-traditional spaces. When you say traditional, you mean ceremonial, like shamanic, right? That's what you mean by that? VCore. Core project. There you go. Oh, yeah. Duh. I said it, and then I thought you were talking about something else. Any weird dreams lately? Nothing that really stands out as like surprisingly weird. By the way, dreams is an interesting one. Did you notice that when you go to a new place, you have a different kind of dream? You have a different kind of flavor of a dream, reliably. Do you believe in Jesus Christ? You look like Jesus. I thank you, I guess. He was a good guy. I definitely believe that he was a real person. I was never like, I never had religious predispositions growing up, but with some recent understandings of the higher space, I do suspect that actually there's some truth to the story. Thoughts, deja vu, and intuition. What about them, Vicor? We actually spoke about intuition. Washing off the feet is the best story. Wait, washing off the feet. Led by a shaman. Yeah, so dreams. I know a scientist in England that working towards trying to experiment with dreams. And what he wants to see is, so he built a device that basically projects people's cortex onto a screen. Not, I know that they replicated some experiments in which they try to project the actual imagery that comes up in the cortex, but he manages to basically project, I guess, your emotional tapestry. And by using music, you can actually, it's almost like a biofeedback, right? You actually, it allows you to control what kind of images it would create and also what kind of music it would create. Eventually, his goal is to connect a bunch of people around the planet to his devices and then watch if there's any truth to the claim that dreams actually travel around the earth. So it's almost like there's a sphere of types of maybe not types of dreams, but like particular vibes, right? Energies. And then when people find themselves on that part of the earth, when they pass through it, the people in that space should have similar kinds of dreams. And what he wants to see, he wants to triangulate to see if there's any truth to this claim. It would be amazing to see, because that would mean that there's some kind of a field that is hovering in hyperspace that influences our dreams and the content in our brains. No, the walking on water is the best story. Thought of lucid dreaming and human sacrifice. Lucid dreaming is also very interesting. We actually spoke about dreams and intuition as well as deja vu. Because in the movie The Matrix, they claimed deja vu is basically when they change something in the system. And we talked about some scientific explanations, and then potentially we can mean more than that. Justin, are you frequent lucid dreamer? What about you, Vicor? Eric Dogen. How you doing, Eric? Pete, how you doing? You don't dream. You mean you don't remember your dreams? As far as I know, everybody dreams. Do you do it on purpose, Justin, or this is something that you just happens to haphazardly a lot? Anybody who's joining me talking about lucid dreams right now? Vicor, you've never dreamt in your life, or you just don't? You never remembered it? So, I think that ultimately, the dreams are almost like a residual reception of the content that is coming through our brains on a regular basis. And then when you go through your day to day, you essentially you have these competing worlds, right? You have the inner world and you have the external senses. They're constantly competing. But when you go to sleep, you no longer feeling anything from the senses. So the dreams, basically, the content in the mind essentially takes over. Let's see what we got here. Very vivid dreams, almost like an alternate reality. That's what you have? Dr. Fly 611. And how do you always have them, or yeah, I got you. Do you always have them, or so how do you know that they're like, do you sometimes have other dreams that are not as vivid, or it's just from what people are describing to you? Because usually dreams are a little bit less than real, right? They feel a little bit more murky. Let's see. I don't know why. Well, it sent an invite. Again, it always does this. You're welcome to come on if you want. Minus soul spirit. I don't know why I was never as captured by the whole idea of lucid dreams, but I should definitely get into it more. I have vivid dreams all the time. Somebody says on YouTube, MEF, I have kept a dream journal for decades. I've had numerous premonitory dreams down to significant details. Can you give us one example of that, MEF? Astral project and have dreams as though I'm in a real life. Yeah, astral projection is another one of these things that I keep hearing about, and people always ask me about it, and I never managed to do it. One thing I'm always fascinated about astral projection is that people talk about it as matter of fact. It's so wild to me, and I don't mean it in a like a like I'm dismissing it. I mean it's just so crazy because it's like this extra ability, and yet people talk about it as if it's obvious. Do you want to give us some comments on that, Dr. Gianfly? So I didn't mean to send an invite, but I did have a pretty intense dream last night. Hey, Eva, tell us about the dream. Feelings like really feeling injured, and feelings injuries. So injuries, you mean you feel them physically? I've felt some stuff physically in dreams before. And then on YouTube, we have I dreamt about the house that I later took and bought. Interesting. And lived in. Huh. Yeah, something like that happened to me before. Not with a house, but with an event that I dreamed about a place way, way earlier in life when I was a little kid. And then when I was a teenager, I remember the same thing exactly happening. Like I remember even the imagery of it. Feelings like really feel. Okay, you said that. Yes, Vivian. Yeah. So I guess my question is, this differentiation between how things feel, because the claim is, and this is also one of these parameters of the higher spaces on the molecule. Thank you for the like, guys. Yeah, let's put in some likes so we can have more crowd going. And there's this quality that is almost like an amped up quality to the molecule, right? And most dreams, they're a little bit more murky, but I know that people talk about dreams that are a lot more vivid, which I see there's quite a few today in the chat. How you doing, 84? Stephanie Amour. Also dreamt about a boyfriend before I met him, including details of where he lived and his work and family life. Holy crap. That's amazing. So tell me more about like what was the latest detail like that, MEF? A recurring dream nightmare are tsunamis. Interesting. A lot of flying down and up staircases and in the sky, kind of like in Inception. Is that what you mean? How you doing, Julian? Chris OBG Johnson. What a dope name. Um, so yeah, this is my main focus right now, which is trying to outline what are these parameters that are different about how reality feels when we are in certain states, and why is certain people experiencing dreams as less vivid, which is most people I believe, including myself, and then other people experiencing them dreams that are way more vivid. No, I got you. You mean tsunamis like, oh, tsunamis like big waves. Actually, as far as I know about dreams, and I know very little, but I remember reading about it because I used to dream about big waves. Doesn't it mean that there's some kind of a big change coming or something like that? I don't always classify them as specifically about big waves. I don't always classify it as a nightmare. It's more, it's just, it's so big. One thing I never dreamt about is a tornado. What oftentimes around emotions. Interesting. Oh yeah. Big turmoil. Right. I just started my new position. Oh, cool. What's the position? And there was this meme running around the web about not being able to dream about screens. And I remember when I read it, I was like, oh yeah, I never dreamt about screens. But in the last couple of years, I was dreaming about screens. Maybe not a lot, but I definitely dreamt about screens, and I even interacted with screens, like on a phone. So I don't know if it's something that basically finally kind of sipped into the human subconscious, but I definitely dreamt about screens. Anybody else here managed to dream about screens or dreamt about screens? Content analyst. Congratulations. Both elements shows up in dream, plus that he had two kids who were in the dream. Whoa, that is wild. Somebody on YouTube basically on a regular has dreams that always manifest in reality to a very fine detail. That is wild. What about seeing repetitive numbers such as 1111, etc.? You mean in dreams or you mean in life? I have very vivid dreams. Dreams also get stronger when we aren't paying attention to the message. You mean to amplify the message, basically, Ava? Supporting your mental emotions. Oh, cool. I like your profile. Thank you. They're usually unstable, like different every time you look at it. Interesting. In life. So somebody was on YouTube asking, what about when we're seeing numbers that repeat themselves? I think it depends. I think it depends on how concrete that is, right? Because sometimes, 1111 happens twice a day, and if your eyes are looking for it, then you will see it more often than not. But for example, for me, the number 42 was following me ever since I started this journey with the discovery, and sometimes it follows me in crazy ways. I'm not just talking about digital clocks. I'm talking about, like, I would drive and I would be thinking about this, and all of a sudden I would look up and there would be a dirty truck, and in the back of the truck there's a tiny area where it's cleaned, and with the Sharpie it says 42, like things like that. It's kind of wild. I think it if I have to deduct anything from it, is that it basically tells you, yes, gives you like a little breadcrumbs, like, yes, you should keep thinking in this direction. I see them all the time. I'm all about numerology. Numbers can be confirmed. Oh, confirmation. But dreams are nuanced, as symbols are personal. How we interpret symbols means something different for every person. 11, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 18, and 44. Interesting. So yeah, I do think that all symbols, they mean something different for every person, but I also think that the numbers can mean different things to different people, and then it can verify whatever they want to believe. Now, that is not to say that it's not true. To me, what it reveals is that actually it's almost like reality meets us halfway. If we're looking in a particular direction or towards a thing or towards a goal, reality will start manifesting certain tools for us to interact with, including certain hints that makes us pay more attention to particular things. Pay attention to the feeling dreams gives you. I actually think that's spot on, Ava. So the feeling is most of it for me. I actually think that because I'm a very visual person, the feeling is something that it took me a little while to actually even pay attention to, or learn how to pay attention to. In fact, what I've learned, that when you're in these altered states, if you just pay attention to the visual, it actually dissipates very quickly. But if you pay attention to what it feels like in every particular space, you will retain a lot more of the content, including the visual content. It's almost like that's a more reliable way of creating a mental imprint. Thank you for all the likes, guys. It's not just on clock. I see it on timestamps, phone numbers, addresses. This just started show a few years ago. Yeah. So it started happening to me, I I actually basically eliminated certain things. Like, for example, digital clocks don't count for me unless it's like in a very particular moment where it matches something else. Because I want to make sure that whatever it is, I'm not also overlaying my own needs and wants on it. I want to make sure that when I'm noticing it, it's actually significant. So I'm only paying attention now to the ones that are really kind of crazy. In fact, one of the moments where, like, for example, I was sitting. Oh, I wish I could share images here, because the image would actually be impactful. The story, I'm not sure it's going to be that impactful, but I was sitting cross-legged working, and the reflection in the window on my leg literally said 42. I have an image of this, and it literally looked like 42 on my leg. I was like, what is that? And then I got up and I realized it was a reflection of letters on my pants. I think it was an H and a T maybe, but it was inverted, and it looked exactly like 42. It was wild. It's all about the journey. Let's see what we have on YouTube. It's not just okay. I learned dreams based acupuncture using symbols, colors, etc., and dream that corresponds to Chinese medicine theory and selecting a point. Wait, so what that means is that you take the dreams and you interpret the dreams, and according to that, you know where to do the acupuncture? Is that what it is? You have cool experiences with the, you mean with the synchronicities with numbers? I think in general, when we're more open, when we kind of in a certain state, these synchronicities meet us. Can I follow that person? What are you talking about? I'm not sure what you're referring to, Dr. Gian Fly. But essentially, I think that when we're open, the channel is open. We're not just paying more attention, but it's almost like the universe is paying more attention to us. So it would generate these symbols more often, so we can actually it helps it essentially guides us. I'm not sure towards what. I'm pretty sure that our agency also matters. For example, a green snake in the dream. Listen to this. For example, a green snake in the dream would correspond to the wood point on the spleen meridian. Why the wood? Because snakes are on trees. Oh wow, that's too amazing to be coincidence. There's something to this, but I can't figure it out. I'm all progressing though. Also, when we are aware, we notice messages that were always around us, sometimes via neurology. Yeah, I think it's always around us. I've wanted to vibe with someone that interprets dreams. Oh, well, if you go on YouTube to Dengo Thoughts, Dr. Gian Fly, the live chat there's a person called MEF. That way you'll be able to connect with them. Somebody is interesting to connect with you, MEF. Greenie's wood elements plane is snake Chinese astrology. MEF, do you have a TikTok account that I can share with people if they want to connect with you? Thank you. Also, we are aware of notice messages that were always around us. Yeah. Yeah. Dragonfly. Okay. Dragonfly. You know that this is one of my biggest omens. Dragonfly. It always appears for me in a very particular way, just like the 42. The 42 and the Dragonfly together appear in a very succinct way. No TikTok, no social media, just YouTube. So you're gonna have to go to YouTube, Dragonfly. Yeah, and you know, Dragonfly is actually a big. They're a big spiritual symbolism. I think that's why they put the dragonfly on top of the cover of the Gene Keys. And I heard the writer talking about it in the podcast. He explained that the life cycle of a dragonfly is very unique because they live underwater most of their lives. And then this environment that technically they're foreign to, even though they're born into it, and they feel uncomfortable. And then eventually they climb when they're ready to become a dragonfly. They just climb on the stem of one of the plants that are growing inside the water, and then they climb out into this new environment that they've never seen before. And hold on, let me skip this ad. And then they climb into this new environment that they've never seen before, and they just wait. They don't even know what's going on. And then eventually a gust of wind comes, and they just takes it and becomes a dragonfly. Now, the craziest thing about it, that the process inside their bodies that transforms all their machinery into being able to be a dragonfly is a hydraulic system. So it's based on water, and they grow up in water, but they're going into a completely different environment. So think about the symbolism. The environment they were born into is the thing they're utilizing. Their organism utilizes it to become the next iteration of themselves. And they have like 4 different life cycles. So they have, from first to the only in the last one they're a dragonfly, and it actually maps on perfectly on, according to the writer of the Gene Keys, maps on perfectly to the human evolution. Thank you. Oh, you're so kind. Oh, whoa, swimming with whales. That is wild. Wait, let me go back a little bit. The most euphoric feeling I've ever had, tears of joy streaming down my face, was during a dream. Thank you for sharing, Debbie. I was swimming with whales. Wow. Dragonfly saying, yes, I have a tattoo on my foot. They're beautiful creatures, and yes, so spiritual. I love your energy. Thank you so much. I love your energy too. Uh, Masters of Transformation, their energy. Yeah, and I have a friend who climbed this volcano when he was going through a pretty difficult time in his life, and then on the way up there, he met this guy who I guess was kind of like the next stage tour guide, the local tour guide that was taking them there. And then when they climbed all the way to the top, he saw this black dragonfly land on one of the plants, and then the guy told them that, according to their belief, um, God is a dragonfly. So he tattooed a dragonfly on his arm, and he was telling me this. Let's see. Also, many types of dreams, sometimes for processing prophetic communication. EYC, lucid, etc. Yeah, I have to admit that, again, dreams. Thank you for that beautiful experience. You're so sweet. How you doing, Kevin? So it's interesting that certain people are drawn to certain things naturally, right? I'm actually, or most of my life, I hope, I sure hope God isn't an insect. Yeah, well, you know, what if it is? Or what if the function of like whatever the archetype of the dragonfly is, right? We'd like to think that God is something like us, but who knows, right? Like it would even make more sense that God is some kind of a closer to a hive mind than mammals. That's how I feel about butterflies. How you do with dragonflies. Those are different types. God is everywhere, an insect, you, I, and all. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Anyways, most of my life I wasn't really that drawn to this whole concept of like reading dreams or even most of spiritual things. Even though I was meditating for a long time, I looked at it as more as like a practice for my mind rather than an actual opening for something that is more. And ever since I made the discovery, I was meeting more and more people that are on the path, and I've seen some pretty wild things, which made me reconsider a lot of things. So it opened my mind and my receptiveness or receptivity. I think receptivity is more correct of a lot of these things, and it kind of resparked my interest in them. I don't know. My whole life, I was going to ask God why insects. I mean, why anything, right? I feel you. Thank you. Yeah, to ask why in that on that level is kind of, why God, why anything. That's always the question. Lucid dreams sparked my interest and opened a whole new world. Today, I don't know why, but the whole day today, might be just me, but there was this kind of like a heavy feeling of some sort. It's almost like it's trying to just like either relax or just kind of pressing down. Anybody else experience this today? Lucid dreaming sparked my interest and opened a whole new world. Always a challenge. This guy from Ukraine. I doing Taiwan bomb. Who is this guy talking about me? So, Ava, did you manage to utilize this for something? I mean, obviously, probably for personal growth, but did you manage to like astral project or things like that? Can lucid dreaming be a way to hack the simulation? I don't know. I think that essentially the simulation means that the whole world is computational, or the whole world is experiential, but the fundamental, I guess, functionality of it is like computational. So hacking it would mean that you would have to go beyond a particular function of a software, right? I think in that sense, you're not really hacking, you're just going across the ability to go beyond the function. So if at the moment you're on this certain regime of regularities that we call the laws of physics, if you can transcend that, if you can find a way to go beyond that, then I guess you can say you hacked it. But then the question is, how many of the layers does this apply to? So if you go up the layers and you influence the lower layers, then I think it's valid. But if you just, you know, if it's just happening in your immediate little bubble, then I'm not so sure. But I mean, who knows, right? But I do think that when you gain lucidity in dreams, you gain one of these functions. You manage to bring your attentional machinery back online, so there's an awareness of the central unit. Being able to consciously observe and interact in a dream and operate without bounds in lucid dreams. It's truly powerful. Have you ever seen the movie Waking Life? We are living in the matrix. That's essentially what I'm claiming to have discovered. Are you having experiences managing your ego? You are probably tapping into collective energy. Was the question for me, Dragonfly? Experiences managing your ego? What do you mean by managing your ego? Like watching it from the side, you mean? That was Anthem as a teen. Wait, that was my Anthem as a teenager. Waking Life. Yeah, it's a great movie, isn't it? So I had my first lucid flying dream as a teen. These are my favorite when you fly. Well, let's see what we got here. It is. That would be cool if we can eventually fly in real life. When I was a kid, that was my biggest dreams. One of my biggest dreams. I don't know my whole. What else was here? God is it? Oh wait, I went way back. Lucid dreaming sparked my interest. Always challenge. They're probably tapping into collective energy. I don't know what you were referring to, but it's interesting. I feel as though we are on this planet to experience, and there are so many experiences that prop. Prop? What do you mean by prop? I've heard we are all traveling astrally. I've only accidentally had out of body experience. As for challenges, no, that's two different things. I'm not so sure. I mean, I think the dreams, you enter one state of the mind, right? And then astral traveling, you still go through the mind. I mean, the whole thing is mind. You mentioned a heavy feeling, and that's why I said probably tapping into collective energy. Oh, I see, I see. Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of heavy events recently, right? I don't know. Today was extra. This guy has many questions, but few answers. Yeah, well, if you have some answers for us, that would be great. Every day, we're usually discussing all kinds of subjects, and I usually go off on long rants about my ideas about these things. But today, I'm trying to engage more with what people have to say. Best teacher asks questions. I appreciate the compliment, Ava. Has an actual speed of the expansion of space ever been established? Good question. I know it's faster than the speed of light for sure. I'm not sure if they know the exact speed. Actually, they probably do, but it's faster than light. That's why when it recedes from us, the galaxies that are created right at the boundary, their light will never reach us because the light literally travels slower than the expansion. So it pulls it back faster than the light can ever reach us. Apologies, I feel as though my question got lost in translation. You can ask it again. They want about Ava, the best teacher, don't talk in circles. That's what the paradox. Lucid dreaming talks about the laws of physics. The Dream World, great book. The paradox of lucid dreaming. Why be here to scroll on, brother? If it's not for you. You guys are so positive. It's awesome. But yeah, Taiwan, if you want to ask a question, by all means. Usually, I have a lot to say on matters of physics, philosophy, and things like that. When it comes to things like these, which are just kind of, they're very ephemeral and they're very general and they're very personal. I rarely express a firm opinion because I think, you know, it's for all of us to discuss because they're very personal and we're kind of trying to come to an understanding. Certain things you can have concrete things to say about, and other things you can't. And since we're talking about dreams, I mean, I don't know about anything that's more personal than that. This guy graduated from Harvard Medical School. This is probably like, what is it called? A comment farm. They commented like a billion things. It's just to instigate shit. Appreciate you too, Dragonfly. It's interesting because I'm noticing more and more people that are gravitating towards I guess the spiritual in a truly explore, like with a true exploration mind, like not so much in trying to put forth concrete things, but just enjoy the experience. The reason I'm pretty sure that it's a troll that I don't even know what the comment doesn't even make any sense. Do you always have a low ringing in your head, like it's sound of you own brain buzzing? Not tinnitus. I mean, I hear sometimes a low pitch, high pitch thingy. I think it happens to everybody. Wait, you hear it on a regular basis? That's why we're here on this earth. Yep. Operating without an agenda could feel uncomfortable, but that's where so much magic happens. Yeah. Working in the formless. Exactly. Oh, wow. How do you know it's not tinnitus, Eric? Just out of curiosity. I have ringing all the time. Interesting. Does anybody else here has ringing? Ava? I thought everyone had this. Yeah, it's interesting to see. It's also interesting how being tested. Oh, I see. How did you discover that not everybody has it, by the way? Because this is an interesting thing where when people grow up with a certain thing, they don't, they have no idea that not everybody has this. They just assume, right? Not really. Sometimes spirit comes through with ear ringing, but not much. What was the frequency you mentioned that is similar to being on the molecule? Frequency. You mean of the laser? It's 650 nanometer, the wavelength. Wait, there's a lot of interesting subjects here. NDE. Can lucid dreaming be a way? Oh, somebody on YouTube is also hearing ringing, by the way. Ask wife and friends. They have no idea what I'm talking about. Or maybe they're just not noticing it. You know, it's funny. I just noticed more of the ring right now. I'm just thinking of NDEs. Low frequency sound vibration. Oh, well, 42 would work. 100 would work. But again, like I said, I don't even think if the frequency itself matters that much. How you doing, Chillaxed? Welcome back. Stan Johnson. All right, we just reached NDEs. So who here had NDEs? I know Dragonfly said she had some. She had one. You want to tell us about it? So a laser is coherent light, and that is what reveals the code with the molecule. What is it about coherent light? Not just coherent light, but it has to be diffracted, which is an interesting data point. It doesn't work with a laser pointer. So coherent light, I would assume it makes it more specific to one frequency so it doesn't scatter. But it's a great question. But the other thing is that it's diffracted, which means that it creates decoherence in the wave function, which I think is another data point. Other than hydrogen line, what is another frequency alien might use? I think they might use the entire spectrum. It's just that certain spectrums are probably easier to see they're more universal. Go towards like, I left my body near death. My mom had an NDE last year too. Too much sum up here. Well, obviously. Yeah, let's hear the Dragonfly story. YouTube, one apology. I'm going to be absent for exactly less than a minute. I'll be right back. I'm going to have to carry TikTok with me because I need my phone to enter this room. We have a new apologies for this, everybody. We have a new puppy, and he was alone at home for a little bit too long, so I had to go back and make sure that he's okay. Hopefully we didn't lose too many people here. Okay, let's see the. We were on NDEs. So Dragonfly, for everybody in YouTube, Dragonfly is telling us about her NDE story. Lost vision in my left eye, however, became enlightened. I did astral projected predominantly since. Astral projection since second grade. Dragonfly, that's wild. My mom lost vision too. Went on life support, slowly gained back. Did your holy shit. That's insane. Wow. That is a wild story. Mind and soul and spirit, much love. Oh, I can feel the love. Thank you, Dragonfly. Your presence is incredible. Did he fall asleep? I hear breathing. No, that was the puppy. I was checking that if his bowl was full. He's very adorable. Um, sorry, very open, but yes, appreciate you opening. It's great. I know a few people that got super sensitive recently, or like opened up. I guess opened the channels, and it's really difficult to cope, huh? For people that are, hey, chillax. It's really difficult. I see for people that are waking up. Some of them, I guess, you can say, almost like losing their minds. Like it's so difficult to keep proper coherence in this space when you went through this experience. Let's see what YouTube has to say. Interesting. Diffracted, non scattering, coherent light at a certain wavelength. I am intrigued. Yeah, it's well, other wavelengths work. It's just that they seem to have extra content. So, for example, in the green spectrum, you also have arrows going around aside from the code, which is super interesting. The only surface I've seen it actually is being influenced by the code is if you project the laser onto a magnet, then the magnet actually scrambles the code. Interesting. I learned about you from Emily Moyer interview while at the same time looking into simulation theory from a Chinese medicine perspective. Interesting. Yeah, actually, Emily just reached out. I think. Yeah, I think she reached out today or yesterday, and we're gonna do another episode. She was great. Thank you for letting me know. I've been tuning in past couple of nights. I'm enjoying this channel more than you can imagine. Thank you for sharing. Oh wow, thank you so much. That gives me a lot of oomph to keep doing this. My battery is dying. I'll watch the rest of this replay. Have a good night. Have a good night. Thank you so much. Oh, how you doing, Jake? I'm actually watching your channel quite a bit. I enjoy it. If you want to come on, more than welcome to. And don't know how to improve it. Let's see. Oh, it just keeps sending it. Interesting. I was just trying to tap on Jake's name, but it keeps sending invites. Let's see. Don't know how to improve it. Let's see. Sometimes I notice is energy in front of me. It's like light sparkling up. I don't know what it is. Chillax, is it up here? Like, is it up here, or is it something that is more central? I love you, man. My phone is about to die, but next time. Amen. Peace, man. I'm watching your channel, by the way. I really enjoy it. You can create energy, clear energy. How much in total is the cost of the laser setup to see crazy DMT code stuff? So Cryo Squid, you can get all the parts for super cheap on Amazon or Alibaba, and we always encourage people to do that. Everything is on the website codeofreality.com. Codeofreality.com. We have a list of all the stuff you need to buy to make it happen. We also have an option that we can make it for you. We added that because people kept on asking us. But the way cheaper way is to get the parts, and we explain how to do it. And if it's still not clear, then you can always email me to lasersimulationx@gmail.com, lasersimulationx@gmail.com, and I will definitely send you more detailed instructions. I think for everything you need, it will not be more than $50, including the tripod, really. And in fact, I think there's one of these new lasers that comes with like a USB or something. This one's like super cheap. I haven't tried it yet, so I can't say if it's actually has all the proper parameters. But yeah, you should be good, like with pretty low cost. Thanks, dude. I'm still waiting for Rob to send me the laser. Wait, what? Okay, wait a second. Are you from Australia, brother? Jake, I hope you're still here. Because we usually send the lasers very quickly. US. Oh, wait. No, that's weird. Rob. We usually send the laser really fast. Which Rob? Rob, wait, you're talking about Rob from, what's his name? Adaptus? Adaptus, yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. Yeah, man, if you're in the US, you don't have to wait for him. Like, I'm telling you, you can get, just email me, lasersimulationx@gmail.com. Yeah, yeah, you don't even need to do that. Like, I think you can get, I'm going to verify, but I think you can get like the laser with the USB for like $12 or something. Again, I haven't tested it yet, so I can't say it's really good. But even if you have to buy the separate parts, it shouldn't cost you more than like $30, $40. And I can definitely walk you through how to connect it. It's like super simple. But I'm glad that it's going around. Rob is a hoot. Perfect. I will just get my own. Exactly. I really want to make content. Oh, that would be great, man. And again, feel free to email me, uh, and I can walk you through the whole thing. No problem. I also do a Zoom call every once in a while so we can actually chat. Matthew in the house. By the way, somebody thanked me for the content on YouTube and feels great. Even though today I feel like I'm a little less energetic today than I usually am, and yeah, I guess it is somewhat related to this like down press feeling, but it's actually it makes it extra cool that I get to challenge myself and still do the daily. How you doing, Matthew? Absolutely, Jake. Keep making amazing content, man. Um, and yeah, please come on and we can chat next time you're around. Also, some people made suggestions before for me to bring some people to either have a conversation with or debate. I'm still trying to fill out like the audience and what actually jives with the audience. Does this feel? I mean, obviously, a conversation would be interesting, but is a debate, and not really a debate, but like a conversation that is more, to try and maybe push back on some of my ideas. Is this type of content that might interest people here? Because I don't mind doing that at all. Are you Jesus Christ from the future? That I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, it's not wide enough for you to see the joke because it's vertical. Sorry, YouTube saw the joke. Um, I am. It'll be cool to be from the future. What ego negative feeling you're experiencing? Hey, baby. Let's see. Whatever ego negative feelings you're experiencing with hand on heart, send it to yourself. Wait. Let's see. Whatever ego negative feelings you're experiencing, with hand on heart, send it to yourself. Not sure that I understand. Have you tried mixing substances and looking at the laser? Yeah, I can tell you that K, again, I'm not going to say the full things, right? But K really helps with anxiety in that space. So just a tiny bit of it. Pizza toppings work all by themselves. The problem with them is that they're real commitment. It's like a whole day thing versus a 5 to 10 minutes thing. And what else? Uh, the sacred tea definitely worked. Croy squid, yes. I agree. How do you feel as though sending energy? Pizza toppings. Pizza toppings. I can't say certain names of substances on a live chat because they will shut me down. So imagine what you put on a pizza. Put on a pizza. You put tomatoes. What else do you put on? Well, I guess you can say mushrooms, right? So I'm just like super careful because one time they almost shut me down, and then they sent me a formal notice that they might shut down my channel. So I'm like, it's not worth it. Does it make the code look any different? No, the code is the code. Like it's always what it is. Never changes. It's kind of wild. Also, it doesn't look like a psychedelic visual. It literally looks just like a straight up like a digital clock. Like eating mozzarella. Cosmic mozzarella, exactly. I should call it that. I've been mixing stuff. Yeah, so I think that what's happening is that these substances, they open a particular channel and then you can just see it. but the code is the code. So the code will not change according to what substance you're consuming. That's my theory. So far, it hasn't. By the way, also, no matter what I did with any other part of the experimentation, like with different materials, projecting it on and through different materials, played with sounds, nothing really changed the coherence of the code. Just confirming, pizza toppings work with the laser? It does, yes. But you're gonna need a higher dose. You're gonna need like 3.5 grams at least to like get the full. The thing with the molecule, is that it gives you a lot of juice, right? So you see it right away. And especially for the people who kind of have a little bit of a hard time with it, because sometimes people take some like a second to see it. Not everybody sees it right like that. I still don't know why. Eventually, everybody sees it. So with pizza toppings, you're gonna need a bigger amount. Definitely works with the sacred tea. Yeah. Again, if I know Jake, you would definitely prefer to do it with the. Oh, actually, one advice I would give is that it's it's even better to do it if you're already doing pizza toppings. It's even better to then do the molecule on top of it, because it actually is easier to do, because the pizza toppings, they release all the tensions in the body. It just releases it, and then when you smoke the molecule, then it's much easier. There's not that much tension. I bought more stuff to make a molecule specifically for you, dude. I'm honored. Yeah, I can't wait for your report. Also, feel free to reach out and we can work out the details and stuff. Tell me. Um, Cosmic mozzarella is a lot of fun. Yesterday, somebody, who was it? I think Patricia. She's not here today, but the day before, she coined the term righteous Roomba, referring to my analogy with, lack of intelligence being like a Roomba, but just like you have to hit all the walls to know they're there. And they just said righteous Roombas, which was very funny. My phone is about to die, but I will reach out and we can get something up. Oh man, that would be great. Please. Thank you for your amazing content as well, brother. Phoenix, welcome. Does it work with the cactus, San Pedro? I have not tried. I would assume it would. I would assume it would, MEF. And if you try, please let me know. Um, yeah, please let me know. Uh, where in the States are you, MEF? Are you like in Arizona or something? Or New Mexico? Because that's usually when it's much more prominent. How you doing, Jessica T440? There's an Italian chef in here that's totally confused. Is he though? Or is she though? Does it work with South America? Oh, cool. Where, if you don't mind me asking? Let's see if we can give it a few likes, guys, just so we can get a little bit more people in the chat. And then today, I'll definitely keep it a little bit shorter. My energy today is not at its finest. I will admit that. Ecuador. Ooh, we traveled the world last year, and we've been to like 30 countries. And in South America, we only went to Brazil. Then we did some Central America, uh, so some Mexico and some Costa Rica. But Peru is on the list. Ecuador is definitely on the list. So it'd be great to go visit there. When's the last time you had pizza? Sometimes I would microdose. Full dose. Full dose was actually in Turkey when I was last in Turkey, which was last year. It was an issue, but it was synthetic. I don't know if you ever tried synthetic, but synthetic is great. I actually, at this point, I'm kind of blown away by it so much that I prefer it on the regulars. If you've never tried, I think it's 4-ACO dimethyltryptamine. That's the name of it, and you ingest it, and it's basically so clean. There's no body disturbance of any kind. Super visual, very, very clean. I really enjoyed it. Do you think seeing the code is to do with our eyes seeing on a higher than normal frame per second? Definitely. I think it's exactly what it is. well, the mind seeing more frames per second. So not the eye so much as the more frames of reality itself buffering. So you see more frames per second of not just the visual field, but the whole thing. Like everything the reality has to offer, more frames per second of that. So maybe we need to charge up the visual cortex with magnets. I keep thinking about it. Ooh, that's cool. Squid. Charge up the visual cortex with magnets. Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm working on trying to get my hands on the 3.5 Tesla magnet, which will be insane. I really want to see the code. I mean, you know what to do. If partaking is something that you usually do, then all that separates between you and it is the laser. But again, I want to be very clear that if it's not something you do on a regular basis, I want everybody to know to approach these things with a lot of respect and caution, because it's definitely not for everybody. And actually, the thing with the magnet is that I can't wait to figure this one out. I don't know if it should be around the head or spinning or around the magnet. Around the diode. I would assume it should be around the diode, but that's just, I guess, because my mind always drifts more towards the technical explanation. Even though around the head it would still be a technical explanation, it's going to be a much more complex explanation, because who knows what actually changes, right? But around the diode, you can kind of formulate a theory around, if it works, you can formulate a pretty straightforward theory as to what changes. Or maybe around the subject onto which you're projecting the laser. So maybe around the wall. Or what does the magnet do? So the magnet influences over a certain power magnet. So if you have anything above 3.3 Teslas, which is very powerful, what it does, it creates new. Do you know what, in every atom, you have energy levels. It's just some, physics 101, right? So energy levels essentially determine what is the probability of electrons of being around the nucleus. When you introduce a strong enough magnet, it doubles and triples. It creates uh, new energy levels. It's called the Zeeman effect. And I think that if we do that, we can potentially see some change in the content. But that's my hypothesis, at least. And that combined with rotating the two magnets around, counterclockwise to each other, they will essentially produce a wave also, which will give us another thing to see if it actually changes anything about the perception of the code. Because now you have some perturbation of whatever content it's producing. You're both going to be able to see if either something about the source changes the code, like the source of the light, or changes the way the light hits the whatever it is that you're seeing, and does it actually change the content in that way. So it gives you two things to test. The next step beyond that is to project it to particular materials that might be creating interesting effects with both light and the magnetic field. Specifically, I'm thinking about bismuth. I already obtained a screen with literally bismuth, a film of bismuth that is like 10 nanometers thick, which is like super, super microscopic. And so you can actually project things through it, even though it's an opaque material. Maybe the focus should be on trying to get as many people seeing the code. Well, I mean, we have over 1,000 people that already saw the code. And that was my focus. This was my way of getting the attention of certain people in the field. Because originally, when I made the discovery, I kind of braced myself and I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to send cold emails to all kinds of scientists, right? And first of all, well, take yourself through the experience of trying to formulate an email like that without sounding completely insane, which I tried a few times. And actually, some prominent scientists responded. So, what's his name? Forget his first name. Altman. Yeah, yeah. He's the guy who's studying UFOs. And then Donald Hoffman responded to my emails. Unfortunately, right when I emailed him, he went through a heart procedure when I emailed him. So he was recovering. And then he gave me the content of all his, PhD students and all that stuff, and he was super polite. And then it started trending and it became huge. I actually don't even remember if I reached out again, to be honest. Maybe I should. But yeah, so I was surprised that he responded. And then eventually I was like, look, I'm convinced that this is real. I showed enough people to know that this is not just me seeing it. I'm just going to put some content out there. I mean, I have a little channel. I'm going to start putting content out there. And that's how I got the attention of people, including some researchers. And then people started replicating the experiment, and the rest is history. I mean, now we're here, right? The next step would be to actually put it in a lab. Because no matter how many people I will show it to, eventually it would have to go through the natural course of the rigor of science itself, which will have to include an actual researcher that will be willing to put their name on it, do the actual double blind, and so on and so forth. I mean, aim to get 1,000 of people around the world to wake everyone up. Yeah, you're gonna need more than 1,000 people seeing it to to establish. Oh, you mean 100K? Yeah, well, eventually you'll get there. You set up a giant installation at Burning Man. Oh, dude, that's a great idea. Cryo Squid, that's a great idea. That would be wild. Just have people because imagine you manage to project something really big, right? And then everybody who's on the molecule that steps up, it's going to be like an inside thing, right? And people are going to know, they're going to show up and be like, whoa, just everybody sees the code. That would be wild. I'm watching your YouTube video a few times. Hey, Muffin. I would love to replicate it myself. Yeah, you can go to codeofreality.com, codeofreality.com. We have everything you need there, the protocol, what you need to get to make the laser, all that stuff. Yeah, man, that would be wild. Absolutely, Muffin. It's a great handle. Chillax, what about using transcranial magnetic stimulation devices or visual cortex? Yeah. I mean, again, of course, you're right. That's, all of these things, yes, but it's just that they cost money, right? And it takes time. And there's so many different things to try that I have a whole list of ideas. And every, whenever I'm doing it, I'm testing some of them and crossing them off the list. But ultimately, you're going to have to set up a very rigorous experimental framework in which you're deciding what you're testing for. And again, I think yes, doing some of it by people who are like more freelancers like ourselves is helpful, but ultimately it would have to go through the regular channels of science, if you ask me. But yeah, definitely. I mean, EEG and eventually maybe functional MRI is going to be not that beneficial, but EEG definitely. Hey Dan, I haven't caught all the live streams, so apologies. This has been covered recently, but any new ideas on how we can prove to people that we are experiencing the same thing? Hey, Hypergrid Technician, how are you? Thank you for joining. I am personally not as interested in proving anything to anyone. I'm interested in putting the idea out there. Again, I always quote Terence McKenna on this, which, if it's real, it can take the pressure. So the truth, and another quote is, the truth does not require your participation, right? So I'm kind of under that banner, which is that whatever is true will come to light. And all we can do is just put the information out there and then try and do our best to be honest and authentic about it. The issue with communicating it to the current scientific zeitgeist is that the initial assumption is that the fundamental thing is physical. So unless you can touch it with your hand, or you can have a device that can measure something like the magnetic field, it's excluded from what should be considered as real, right? And then it's kind of like mind-made, so to speak. So the way to convince people that what we're seeing is real is to have more people seeing the same thing, putting it through experiments in labs in which you don't tell people anything. You let them smoke, you put the laser in front of them, and you watch how many people report the same thing. That would be the way. That would be the way to start. Eventually, when you have an advanced enough version of devices like Neuralink, and you'll be able to just record directly from the cortex, then you're not going to have a problem. Then you just you can, that's proof positive, right? You'll be like, it's coherent content, it's right there, everybody sees the same thing, and you'll even be able to use AI to analyze what we're seeing because it's going to actually be recording it. So that will be my, 2 cents on that. But I'm not worried. Like, I know that whatever is true will come out at the right time. It's so interesting that we can see the code at all. I wonder why it's even visible. Hey, Cal, how are you? Yeah, I mean, the $1 million question right now. I think it has something to do with what somebody asked today in the chat, which is about frames of reality per second. We see more frames per second of reality itself, and that's why you can actually see it at that point. But it's what I'm trying to approach quickly in the first video that I put out on the subject. I think it's only on YouTube, this part of it, in which I'm calling something epistemologically sound, which is the way that the code appears. What I meant by that is that when you see it, you don't need a grant, you don't need a proof, you don't need anyone else to see it to know that what you're seeing is real. It has a quality of rigid, like it's so like it looks real, right? It has all the properties of real. And then I later discovered there's a term called objectness that describes this exact quality. But when you see it, you just know. So it's interesting that it also reveals that there's a property to reality that our brain is using to determine what is more real. But we just don't think of it because we think of realness in terms of things we can prove, which is not necessarily the case. You don't need to prove things to know they're real. Planck length is the resolution to the universe. Essentially, well, I would say it's more the resolution to the mathematics. Because what it is, the reason that it stops at Planck scale is because it's the only scale that is a natural scale, what physicists call natural scale, that beyond which anything you're going to try and do is going to be arbitrary. You're going to have to use mathematical tricks to make the thing work, because you get probabilities that are more than 100%, which makes no sense. Kind of like dividing by 0, even though it's the other side of that spectrum. But yeah, the Planck length you can call the resolution of the universe. But it kind of leads you to the question of the Planck length still has a constant, which is derivable. But wait, I actually don't remember. I don't want to misspeak. If I'm not mistaken, Planck length is not unitless. Somebody can correct me here if they're sure, but I think it's unit. It has units attached to it, which is still not in the family of like the ultimate fundamentals. So you have, for example, the universal, what is it called? I forget what it's called. Maybe universal constant. I forget what it's called. But the 1 divided by 137, right? That number is weird. What is it called? Let me see. I forget what it's called. But yeah, so it is. Yeah, it's called. What does called? Let's see. Fine structure constant. There it is. Fine structure constant. And to anybody who doesn't know, it's 1 divided by 137 approximately. And what's interesting about it is that it's unitless. So it actually describes a lot of different relationships in the core of reality, but it has no units. So because of that, it's really fundamental. Because, for example, when people make all these like crazy calculations, trying to prove that the pyramids have some kind of a ratio that matches something. Now, this is here not to say yes or no to that, but to talk only specifically about the attempt itself. So, for example, people would use units, which are arbitrary. So they would say, well, if you divide the number of miles or by the number of inches or whatever, you get this exact number that matches the speed of light. Wait a second. Did you measure in miles? And did you measure the speed of light in meters or also in miles? Like, usually it's like interchangeable, right? So if you have units attached to it, it becomes arbitrary because you can change the units and then it would change the number. But if you have a unitless number, So it's a unitless ratio. It cannot be arbitrary because all that the pure numbers describe are the pure relationship, the pure meaning of it. How are you doing, Cooperloo? Let's see. Yeah. So when we started talking about this today, one of the first subjects was dreams, and then we drifted obviously more towards the simulation. I love your approach, scientifically explaining exploration and experience like this is incredible. Thank you, Muffin. I think it's what we have to do. I mean, in the end of the day, there's some kind of explanation to all of it, right? Even if it means that it's something insane and beautiful and profound, and even if it means that we're part of this one unified consciousness and all of that, but still, there are regularities we can measure, and uh, there's no reason to live behind reason, right? I think recently reason got a bad rap for some reason. How many times can I say reason in 1 minute? Do you think could be messages from creator hidden in DNA? Well, the DNA is expressed in what we are, so I would assume that if creator exists, then definitely, right? It would be in the structure itself. It's just like when you look at a building, the hints of how to build the building is in the structure of the building. If you deconstruct, like, the corners and the ratios and everything else, you get actual information about how to build the building. So if you look at the DNA, definitely there's code there that tells you about the structure of life, and in that sense, definitely there's hints there. Wait, Eric, did you say maybe about the DNA? Yeah, I doing baka. Is that how you pronounce it? Bobasha. Bobasha. Um, let's see. Is it possible to explore the potential of relationship between the frequency that our CND runs? Wait, let me write it again. Is it possible to explore the potential of relationship between the frequency that our CND runs at and compared to frequencies that allow the code to be seen? Central nervous. Yeah. Oh, CNS. Okay. The frequency that our central nervous system runs and compare it. Well, the frequency your brain runs in, it changes. Oh, you mean like specifically if it's you in like theta, or is that what you mean? Because it changes. But again, to use EEG in this context would be very helpful because we'll be able to see what actually changes when we're seeing the code, if anything. And for me personally, it would also be interesting to see if anything changes when I'm actually in the state where I'm seeing the console. Because like Tom Matt says about his upside thing, that he tracks things like they're real objects versus just like jumping. How you doing, Val? Yo. User 860-2979-239928. A mathematical relationship. Use the EEG to correlate with seeing the code. Yeah. But oh, I see. So basically, you want to run the ratios. That would be interesting. Yeah, because essentially the brain state is almost like a standing wave, which gives you a good correlate, like a correl. Blah, can't pronounce it right now. A good correlation point. 1% of white noise on all TV is CMB. Yep, that is true. Which I always found an interesting statement because people say, "Isn't it amazing?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I mean, the rest of it is noise." So, and I was just like, "Well, which one? Which one of the ones that appear?" Ah, there it was. There's the universe, and the rest of it is just noise. But I like also there's clearly whatever the noise is still part of creation, right? I guess it's just like the the CMB is the microwave background of the universe. So it's essentially the echo from the Big Bang to people who don't know, and it is the the ear ringing of the universe from the Big Bang, essentially. So 1% of the white noise that you see on TV that you never see on TV anymore is that background noise. What if you cover a whole room with mini lasers? Yeah, I mean that's one of the thoughts. It's like noise in my head. It's baseline signal. Oh, it's the one you were saying with the tone. Interesting. How are you doing, Marvel Snap? Yeah, the idea is to put a bunch of lasers and then you see the code just like much wider. Are you familiar with the Robert Edward Grant? Yeah. I actually spoke to Robert a long time ago. I think the beginning of last year. The first thing he said is like, "I'm not surprised." Robert is an interesting guy, 100%. It's like it's like the noise in my head. Sorry, I read this. How often do you go on your journeys? I used to try to do it once a week. Now I don't have as much time, so whenever I have an opportunity, maybe every couple of weeks, once a month now. But also it's like very short. I would just kind of run one experiment and then go back to what I have to do. I think ultimately, like I used to run them like all day, every day. Are you still seeing screens coming from the egg? Yep. Oh, I see you've been following my work. That's awesome to see Hypergrid. Yeah, I'm seeing the console all the time when I'm smoking. Are we able to decipher the code or is it binary, ones and zeros? It's not binary. It literally looks like in the Matrix. Combine some kind of like katakana looking characters combined with some Hebrew letters and some regular numbers from 0 to 4 or 0 to 5. It's kind of hard to decipher because they're moving very fast and there's a lot of them all at once, but you can still see them very clearly. Like they're very well defined in space. They're just moving very fast and there's infinite layers of them and they just go on forever basically. And like I always say, the only way we're going to potentially even be able to decipher them is to we'll need to be able to record from the cortex and project it onto a screen and then also record into an AI that can actually do the analysis. At the moment, I think the best thing we can do is watch if there's any change to behavior of the code while we're introducing different elements. And so far, all the mental elements failed. So it does make me believe that this code codes for what we call physical reality. So we would have to perturb it in a physical way. Like we were talking about magnetic waves, projecting through materials, or a combination of these things. Dying is like falling, but you never stop falling. And after a while, you get used to it. And then, or maybe you're always falling, like right now, too. All right, guys. Do you guys have any particular? Oh, hold on. It seems to not matter how long I look at the characters. I struggle to bring anything back to try and depict the glyphs exactly. An hour goes by in a blink. Do most people report the same? Yep, pretty much. Oh, also, you never told me that you actually saw the code. I never know who is who, but it's great to see that you did. Yeah, it's kind of like you can't really bring it here, like, or can't really like translate. And yeah, it's a very common thing. Hypergrid. How? So you've seen the code a few times? Oh yes, my first time is a stream, but been following for a year. Oh, well, welcome to the stream. Amazing. Yeah, you should email like people who try the laser. You should email me with your accounts, even if it's completely anonymous. It doesn't matter. All these like reports, they're super helpful. I would love to get them. Doesn't it feel like the solar system is like a nursery? What color is the code? Depending on the color of the laser. So if it's the laser is red, then it's red. If it's green, then it's green. It's whatever light. The code is not a color. I think it's just the light reflects it back, so it will be the color of the light. What do you mean by the solar system as a nursery? Are you talking about like kind of like a Terrence Howard idea? So there are star nurseries, you know. There's giant clouds in space that basically are star nurseries. Have you noticed any? How dare you? I don't know. He was talking about like how a star basically poops out the planets and all that stuff. It sounded like that a little bit. Apologies. Uh, Terrence. Oh, Terry. The last Terrence, at least, even when he was unhinged, he was fascinating and sounded so profound. This Terrence just seems to be unhinged. Period. But yeah, yeah, I know. But what did you mean by nurseries? Uh, it keeps sending invites. I mean, again, I don't mind, but just it's funny because I'm just kind of going through people and it just sends an invite. Seems like our planets are all chances of life. Well, you would, and if that would be the case, you would expect more life to see more life, more common in the universe, or at least any signs of it. Does the code change, or is the same every time you and everyone else use it? Always the same. Always exactly the same. Thanks for dedication to this important work. I hope to future streams. Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, the code is always the same. That's why it's so crazy that everybody sees the same thing. So yeah, guys, if you have any more particular questions today, I'm admittedly a little low on energy, so I'll spend another 5 minutes with you guys and ask a few questions, and then we'll adjourn. Always the same, but the message is different. I don't really know if I can say that I can tell what the message is. It's just a lot of code. Have you tried different types of lasers? Yeah, I tried green, red, blue. In all three cases, you have the code, but then with green and blue, you also have extra content. In the green, you also have these like rotating uh, arrows, almost like the recycling sign, which is really interesting. And then in the blue, you also have these beings that come and look at the source of the light, and they're much more coherent than just the faces that I mentioned in my first video. They're just like actual, like you can see them like hovering around it, which is fascinating. It's almost like every frequency has its own layer of the key. It's almost like it's part of the code, part of the puzzle. But I think the reason that 650 works the best is because you can stare at it the longest. Because the the higher the wavelength is, like the more you have wavelengths in a space, the higher the nanometers are, the lower the frequency. So it's easier to look at it. But the green and the blue, even if the output is still 5 milliwatts, it's still harder to look at, and eventually it might do some cornea damage. So, have you tried different types of? Oh, yeah, just answered that. How you doing, Richie? All right, guys. Well, again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining, and thank you for all the regulars. And I'll see everybody tomorrow. And hopefully by tomorrow, I have a lot more energy and more spark, and we'll be able to have a more fascinating conversations. Peace, guys. Um, have a good night, YouTube. Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.